Good afternoon and welcome to this ERA webinar. My name is Max Obernaus. I'm Communication Officer here at the agency and I will be your moderator today. It is today a slightly different webinar from the other ERA webinars, as in it will be maybe less technical, but nonetheless very relevant for the future of our sector. So we will be addressing the current shortage of skilled labor force, maybe future shortage. And the sector not only needs to address the aging workforce, but also the fact that highly skilled people with IT and engineering profiles tend not to choose a career in rail. And the sector definitely has to do something about this image problem. But also rail companies struggle to fill even lower skilled jobs at the moment as the demand increases for railway services, maybe also with the favorable political conditions and the European Green Deal. We want more trains to go on the tracks, but of course the companies have to find staff to run these trains and operate them. And finally, another big challenge facing the rail sector is how to diversify the current workforce and by attracting more women to join our workforce. So this is what we will discuss today. The event is being recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel afterwards, along with the slides that you are going to see later. But now let me introduce our speakers, and I have to start with some bad news. Our opening speaker, Mrs. Christiane Brunn from Schlummer Management Consulting, unfortunately cannot make it today for urgent health issues. We wish her the very best and hope that she will join us in one of the future events on this topic after she gets better. So the burden of opening the webinar today falls on Sabine Schneider, who is Global Senior Vice President of Talent Management at Siemens Mobility. She says, creating people ecosystem is my passion. So today we're going to learn what that means, what is behind that, and how the problem of talent acquisition plays out for a large global player like Siemens Mobility. Our second speaker today is Professor Nicola Sacco from the University of Genoa. His field is transport system engineering, and he's co-lead of the STAFA project, a European project to address the issue of skill shortage in the railway sector, and he will tell us what that means. We also have a special guest today, Mr. Christian Wiechel-Kramüller, a journalist and publisher who is following the issue of skill shortage in the rail sector for quite some time. He publishes in Germany, in German language, the Handbook of the Future Sector Rail, through which he is trying to attract young talent to join the rail sector since the early 2000s. So it will be interesting what he says. And finally, it is my pleasure to introduce our Executive Director, Joseph Doppelbauer, who has taken a personal interest in this issue in view of his many, many years of experience in the sector. And he will be summing up today's session a little bit, but also he will be, of course, part of the discussion that we will see later. I thank all the speakers for linking up with us today. We will give each speaker the opportunity to introduce themselves and give a short introductory statement. And then after we had those presentations, we will open up the floor, and I want to encourage all our viewers to submit any possible questions in the chat. You also have the possibility to rate or like the questions that you want to be posed. So the more liked questions, of course, are more likely to get asked. And with that, Sabine, if I may hand over to you, how does Siemens Mobility attract young talent and compete with other big players out there today? Sabine, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Max. So welcome everyone from my side, and I would like to explore a little bit first on what we are observing in the market. So what we are currently seeing in the employee market is that the market is turning from an employer market towards an employee market. So this is meaning that we are not getting enough applications anymore like in former years. And this is not only a phenomenon in the rail industry, but in all kinds of industries. So this is not specific to rail. All kinds of companies are currently having a strong demand on people, and the more specialized people and candidates should be, the higher is the demand for experience profiles, for profiles that are going in the direction of digitalization, or experience profiles also in the subject matter, like in our case for the rail jobs. So what we also see in the market is that we have a huge share of candidates who are passive nowadays. So who are not actively applying for jobs anymore. Why is this? And because they can afford this. They are contacted by many headhunters, by many companies, and they would like also to get a different communication, a communication on eye level, to be inspired.
So yeah, thank you, Sabine. You were muted there for a second.
All fine, I have done nothing. So with these passive candidates that are highly attractive on the one hand side, but also are very rarely applying, we have to put much more effort into getting them connected to the company and also win them over to the different jobs and challenges. So therefore, we have to utilize more the business relations, the network of the business, and play together with the business to get those candidates pulled in and have good arguments ready. So what we also see that in some countries, we have a high volatility in the market currently. So that might be an effect out of COVID. So what you can nicely see when we talk about American market that is affected by the Great Resignation, where suddenly people decide that with all these COVID lockdown experience, that they are maybe not any longer on the right track with their professional way and decide to quit and decide to do something different in their life. Here you clearly see that the exit rates in companies in US are going up, and companies are doing hard and have to pay also much more to get again people on board. But it could be also in other markets, like for example India, where there is high competition in the market, and then companies need to compete over the candidates and see who will get the candidates in the very end. So therefore, different reasons that are causing this volatility, and you really have to dig into that and understand how the market ticks, because when you see just the overall picture, then you do not get any ideas for good actions. So what is this all meaning for us in the rail industry? This is meaning on the one hand side that we have to redefine our recruiting approaches, and we have to put much more effort into that. Playing together, business together with human resources to benefit from the networking, to benefit from an eye-level contact, and giving also inspiring stories to candidates that help them to understand better what the challenge in the company is about. Then, of course, we have to invest much more into recruiting marketing. And if you just compare the budget that we have in the rail industry with the budget that the automotive industry is spending for their AdWords, then I think we are falling short here. So this is definitely something where we have to rethink what we are currently doing and how we are approaching the market. So, and what I think is that we have such good arguments at hand why we are not using this. So in the rail industry, you find so many people that have a toy train at home. Isn't that a clear indication of high passion? We have so many high passionate employees that can tell great stories about projects going on where we help countries to build up an infrastructure, and with this help many people to go from A to B. So therefore, this is a strong argument that we can bring in. And the second one we have as well with purpose. Purpose is definitely something where especially the younger generation is looking for. And here we have all the topics on sustainability, we have the green industry, and we also are applying to a democratic approach to move everyone in a society. So these are all strong arguments we can utilize. And passion and purpose is, at least for me, the main arguments that we can bring into the discussion around talents. And then maybe the picture will also look a little bit different, and we will get much more people being interested in rail. And with this, over to you, Max, again.
Many thanks, Sabine. So there are so many points that I want to ask you about, but let's go with the program first and give Nicola the opportunity to complement that and add to that from his perspective. Nicola, you wanted to share some slides. Hope it works, and the floor shall be yours. Thank you.
Okay, just let me know if you can see the slides. Okay, thank you. So thank you very much for inviting me and giving me the opportunity of presenting this fascinating project that we are lucky to coordinate with a lot of partners, which has, as Sabine mentioned, a lot of passion in railways operation, technologies and perspectives also. So Staffer is Erasmus Plus project. It's a blueprint actually. So it is thought of as a project for making together the needs of the world railway supply system and operators together with the educational institution in Europe at different levels, starting from secondary schools up to universities with also research and doctorate courses. What are the key features of Staffer? As Sabine mentioned, railway system is under big changes. There are a set of challenges that has to be addressed and tackled with. In this connection, it is possible to identify a set of skills that are perceived to be in shortage today, or that are perceived to be the new skills that will be needed in the near future. So I mean, for instance, some digital skills, machine learning or artificial intelligence, just to cite a couple of examples. Then in this connection, given the skill gaps and needs, the second feature of Staffer is to define a common strategy together with rail supplier and operators, so that to make the sector growing in Europe and be beneficial for every partner that is involved in. There is a special focus in this project, which is on digital skills and skills for sustainable development. It is quite obvious because this is the world we are living in, but especially concerning digital skills in rail sector, in my experience, I have seen that most of the passionate students that during the high school have the idea of working in railway system are more attracted by civil or mechanical engineering, neglecting a little bit the ICT path and programs that are in case available. So one of our goals is to try to join these two worlds, so ICT and rail, so as to get the capabilities that are developed in these programs and to use them and to make them available for the rail companies. What is the fundamental approach of Staffer? Basically, Staffer, as I already mentioned, put together different actors in the rail sector, in particular the manufacturer, the infrastructure manager, each of them with their peculiarities and needs. As I also already said, ICT skills will be under investigation and a special focus on in Staffer. Just a quick view of the consortium. I like this slide because there is it is very colored, full of dots, which express the big variety of partners that are involved. We are 31 partners nowadays. sorry, I don't know why it goes on to the next slide. Very well spread in Europe, involving 12 European countries, and mixing educational partners, suppliers, and operators. You can see that the main operators in Europe are involved in the partner in the project. So we have SNCF, DB, Ferrovie Italiane, and so on. So the world problem, the world rail sector is significantly represented here. The objective. As I mentioned, and to be short, the main goal is to develop a common strategy for the skill development in the rail sector. So this is the main goal that we are tackling with. In this connection, some profiles, some strategies, some skills have been identified. It is important to focus on the fact that the railway system is, as you well know, quite complex, and there is a possibility for employees at very different, a big variety of possible works. So the aim of Stafffer is to consider all of them and possibly design programs ranging from the EQF level 3, which is a secondary school basically, up to doctorate. So Stafffer is aimed at providing a complete view of the problem and possible possibilities of careers. One of the goals, the last bullet in this slide, is developing a long-term action plan. It will be something that we are now starting to think about, and certainly it will involve the promotion of the rail sector in the schools at any level. As I said, in my experience, even if I was one of them, if there is a lot of people that had railway toy when we're in their youth, where they play with them, then some way this is forgot. I was the one that forgot. I liked train when I was a child. Someone has to remember me that I had this love, and okay, I still have it. And there is a lot of opportunities in the sector that I loved and love. Okay, I already said that during the description of the consortium, but basically this reminds us what are the different actors involved in the project. An important thing to say is that the project is structured with the idea of having 8 work packages. The 9th is basically coordination, in which the 3 words are always represented. So there is always a set of 2 co-leaders for each work package. So in the skill identification, in the program design, and in the skill strategy design, there is the possibility of hearing the voice of the different actors of the sector. Where we are and what we are going to do in the next years. The project lasts 4 years. The first one has already passed, and in the first past year, the phase 1 concluded. The skill identification has been performed. Different and interesting challenges has been set up for the educational system that is now up to answer to this question. We are now in phase 2, so we are developing the mobility and training programs. In this connection, a special focus will be devoted to the dual system and the possibility of having internships and traineeship across Europe for possibly any EQF level. Then there will be the definition and implementation of the second strategy, as I already mentioned. In this connection, we will do anything which will be in our capabilities to promote the sector. One of the tasks that I like to cite in phase 3 is named making the rail sector the best place to work in. So I really believe that there is this possibility, and all of us is focused on making this happen. Okay. Thank you very much for.
Thank you, Nicola. That's the right words at the end of your presentation and setting the scene very nicely for this afternoon's webinar. Before we start the discussion, I want to see if I can call upon Christian Wiechel-Kramüller. Herr Wiechel-Kramüller, are you here? Yes, there you are. Great to have you. Thank you very much. I hope you were able to follow what was said before. I wanted to ask you this very simple question. As a long-term publisher of a book that deals with these kind of problems that were laid out, what is your experience and what do you think where we are today on this subject?
It's a difficult question. I have no solution. Ist das the right word? Ich habe keine Lösung für das Problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you have something else. You have a publication.
Yes, I have a publication. Okay.
Can you tell us a bit about that?
Excuse me?
Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yes, I will do. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak here today about Tucums Bonjour. And dear listeners, please excuse me for my terrible English. My name is Christian Wiechel-Kramüller. I know it's a complicated name. I'm the managing director of the Bahn Media Verlag. This is a small German and independent publishing house in Germany. The company was founded in 2003, and we are specialized in railway and economic topics. By the way, I would like to take the chance today and tell you that we also publish a magazine with the name Monet. This is an irregular Europe magazine for young people, named after Jean Monnet, one of the fathers of the European Union. The Monet stands for democracy, an open society and peace. And we want to show what opportunities Europe offer for young people. Currently, we're working in these days on a new issue. The cover story is Discover Europe by Train, Green and Climate Friendly. But now I would like to say some words about Tucums Bonjour. Tucums Bonjour is a German name and means about the railway business offers perfectly future career opportunities for you. What exactly is Tucums Bonjour? Tucums Bonjour is a communication platform and consists a paperback with more than 300 pages and an online job market. The aim of the paperback is to make visible how many job opportunities the railway sector offers for young people. For me, it's a little bit like Harry Potter's magic book because the most people are very surprised when they are open the paperback and see the diversity of professional opportunities in the railway sector. The reason for this surprise is the railway sector is often just like a closed shop for the most young people. Because many people have an idea what jobs Volvo, Volkswagen, Peugeot or Fiat offer. But often they they have no idea which job variety the rail sector offers. Maybe the most still thinking of the train driver job, but they don't know that you can work as an IT specialist, a cook, a real estate professional, or an engineer for rail technology, and so on and so on. How long has been Tucums Bonjour? Our publishing house has founded Tucums Bonjour in 2008. By the way, we call it short and simple Zuba. And the first edition was published 13 years ago in 2009. The start of Zuba wasn't easy. The most companies in the rail sector was really laughing about us and talking, we don't need this career book because we have enough applications and all the people who would like work for us, knowing our company very well. Now the time have changed in the last 13 years, and now there is a shortage of applicants in most companies. What is the current status of Zuba today? We print every year a new edition with more than 6,000 copies. We cooperate with the most important universities and technical colleges in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. We also cooperate with the German Railway Agents Association and Swiss Rail and Erasmus Plus in Germany. Since 2019, the Bundesagentur für Arbeit, the German Employment Office, used Zuba paperback nationwide as a career guide for pupils and students. And what a surprise for us, pupils and students prefer the printed paperback and not the electronic edition. And this year we are a little bit proud because the Zuba paperback was included in the campaign Magazines to Schools. This is a campaign of the German Stiftung Lesen. This means foundation reading. With this campaign, the electronic edition reached around 10,000 school classes in Germany, which means around 200,000 pupils. So what we can do tomorrow, I don't have an exact idea yet. But I think the next step for the railway industry and maybe for Zuba could be a European edition, maybe in the English language. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wichel-Müller. That is the perfect segue into our discussion. We also received in the meantime various questions in the chat. One was actually about the European perspective of things. It says railway careers are usually a national context. How can we Europeanize this? Sabine, what do you say as somebody working for a global player?
Yeah, I would disagree with this. That seems to be true for all our operator colleagues, where careers might be a bit more focused to the nation. But nevertheless, also here, the colleagues from the Staff for Work team, they are currently working on how to upskill people on their skill side to do a better transfer from the one country to the other, and to have this European exchange is one of the layers that will be important in the future to build up skills, to have a better understanding, and also to ease up all our countries in Europe to have long distance trains, to have freight transportation. And therefore, I think it is important that we also do not, and by purpose do not think only in nations, but also European or even beyond. And on the supplier side, well, we are acting around the world, so therefore you can decide what kind of career you like to have in rail.
Yeah, we heard also from Mr. Wichel-Müller there are many jobs available, and they're not all just engineering jobs. I, for one, am not an engineer, and I'm still sitting here. Is it so? We have several different questions in the chat about this marketing aspect that you mentioned, Sabine. So, and we heard both from the Staffer project and also from Mr. Wichel-Müller that there is a collaboration with universities and maybe Nicola, you said you're also speaking to secondary students, possibly to create profiles. Could you elaborate a little bit on this, how important this is? Because telling the story, making the Harry Potter magic world of railway understood to people, you cannot start early enough, I guess.
When I heard Harry Potter, the first picture that popped up in my mind was the train at the beginning of the movies, which is used by young people to go to Hogwarts. Everything is fascinating in that. If you remember the movies, there is the beginning of everything there. There is the friendship that starts at the beginning of the trips. There is this, I think, kind of possibility in rail that some way raised a romantic idea of what rail transport is. It is difficult to say why these romantic dreams, I'm using a word that I have read in the questions, some way disappears when young people at the secondary level schools or even at university start their program. Frankly speaking, I don't know why. For sure, it is a good idea to remind them. So, and not only remind them that railway exists, but also that they are full of capabilities. There is a place almost for, maybe not all, but for a lot of possible works in the sector. I have read in the chat, but also the Sabine about the possibility of performing careers across Europe in terms of in the rail sector. Yes, I agree when I read that it seems that most of the careers are at the national level now. Things are changing. Fortunately, the European Union is promoting this exchange, and the aim of the blueprints, not only Staffer, but the blueprints is exactly that, promoting the networking, promoting the exchange of experience in different European countries. At university, we are quite used with the Erasmus program. So for us, it is normal to think about doing an internship in a company which is not in our country, studying in another university. There are possibilities like this also at the secondary school level, and we will try to promote as much as possible these tools so as to have the possibility to provide the rail operators and the rail suppliers the possibility of telling their stories, telling about their opportunities, their career opportunities at any level, so as to raise students that arrive at university, or maybe do not arrive at university because they have concluded their path, their programs, with the idea of working in the rail sector.
Yes, and there are several different comments in the chat about the storytelling aspect of how we can attract people to railways. Some think that still aviation and car are stronger in the storytelling aspect, but there's also disagreement in the chat. So I think actually the stories that we can tell in railways could be quite strong. And it brings me back to something that Sabine said, that maybe it is also a question how much resources you put behind telling that story. And my question to you, Sabine, would now be, Is that something you would also, I mean, it shouldn't not just be Siemens and Deutsche Bahn and the others telling their story. We should all tell the story, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe we can even share same stories because we are working in a network and we have to bring up this network idea and make clear that we are connecting the world. So similar to the aviation, they also connecting the world, but we do so for everyone, not only for those who can afford a flight ticket.
Mm.
So if you just have kids and just imagine where your kids spend most of the times, and especially maybe in an adult age, because Nicola said that after the children phase, the young phase, somehow this dream of railway is getting lost. Then you recognize that your kids spend a lot of time in social media. Where are we on social media? Where are our stories? So yes, sometimes we have products, but if this is a fancy story for a person in an adult age, we have to bring up our cool people. We have cool people, so therefore it should be easy, but we do not really tackle this.
You also said something that I want to ask you about giving people or young people purpose and offering as perspective of a meaningful employment. So it's green and sustainable. And then you also said, and we also have a democratic approach. Could you explain this a little further? How is this different than from what other sectors could offer, and how can we distinguish ourselves with this?
Absolutely. So train is transport for everyone, right? So, and this is our story basically. So we can offer that to everyone in the nation, everyone in the world. And this is different from aviation. So aviation is always connected with a bit more luxury. You have in mind that you have to pay much more money. You do something that is maybe not so environmental friendly. So therefore, if you just contrast this to aviation, then you clearly see that the arguments are on our side. But what is different, if you see the most popular role in aviation is maybe the pilot, right? And the most known role for trains is locomotive driver. So if you take the image that comes up in your mind for a pilot, and then you take the image that comes up in your mind for a locomotive driver, where would you apply? So very simple story, right?
Yes, yes. Yeah, and the pilot is international and yeah, of course, a very desirable position. The train driver has to work hard and yeah. Okay, fully understood. Thanks for this. Now a question to everybody who knows. We have a question in the chat. What is the split in the railway sector between male and female workers? Who knows this? I don't. Joseph knows it. Joseph,
yes,
please.
I know it, and the figure that is given by the European Transport Workers Federation, which is the workers' representative for all the railways in Europe, is we have on average 20% of women in the railway sector, but the average is of course not the most telling KPI, because there is a strong difference geographically between the countries, and there is of course a strong difference of the job categories. We see many women to be personnel on trains as controllers, but we see, for instance, less women being loco drivers.
Then I want to play the ball to Nicola, who also said it is maybe unknown that there's an increasing portion of ICT-related jobs in the railway world. Is that maybe also an opportunity to get more women on board, Nicola, do you think?
Yeah, I think it is quite an opportunity. In the past, I am in university since 25 years, more or less, and I have seen a transformation in that. When I was a student, at least in my university, but it was quite a big one in Italy, most of the female students applied for ICT, a bigger share with respect of let's say traditional engineering, mechanical, civil, and subject related to that. Now, when I look at students, I see that there is much more balance in that. So why on one side there is a possibility, potential possibility of catching women from also in job related to the traditional way of thinking of railways, probably ICT, which is probably more populated, still more populated by women, is a good opportunity. It is an example which has definitely no statistical relevance, but we are my research group is made up by 4 people. The two out of 4 that are working in railway are women.
Perfect.
We have balanced the gender.
I know here at the railway agency we are about 40 to 60. Correct me if I'm wrong, Joseph. And Sabine, how's it at Siemens Mobility? Sorry, it's it's just interesting to us.
It's also comparable with the overall average, so it's not different. We just had a board presentation on the topic, also to discuss with the board how we can increase especially technical female talents. The interesting thing is, and when you split up all these kind of job families and functions that are related to support functions, commercial and other jobs, and differentiate that from all technically related functions, then you see clearly that the average on the support function side is between 30 and 50%, so nearly on par. But if you go to the technical side, then it is digging down. And this is the real turf that we have to tackle. So technical female, I think this is an overall topic, but we also have this topic in rail, as we do not get too many female candidates, also students from universities.
Mm-hmm. What did attract you to join Siemens Mobility in your career?
Well, basically, I'm already with Siemens Mobility now twice. So 17 years back, I did my first stint in Siemens Mobility, and I like the business. And I must say, I like the hardwired heavy metal stuff. So this is always attractive as an HR person, because you have the entire value chain and you have a lot of differentiation between the job families. But I also like the perspective that we are having to develop something great out of that. And I think we have a good story to tell.
Absolutely. And now I come back to some questions I read in the chat. One question is, what could be concretely advised to a company or railway institution to do to attract people and to encourage staff to stay? So this is, I mean, this is the divisive question of this whole webinar. But I wonder, what would you say, Nicola? What can we concretely do?
I think that there is the rail sector is perceived as an old sector, some way, still by a lot of people. When we think about an airplane, we immediately think about the very fantastic, terrific technologies that is necessary to make it flying. It is not true. It is simply not true. I have read in one question about high-speed rails, high-speed trains. There is a technology there that is really innovative. It involves a lot of technologies, a lot of methodologies, which are certainly not less difficult, modern. Feel free to use the word you like to make them fantascientific. Let me say, there as well as in aviation. Probably this message is this topic is simply not known. So I think our job as education, as a researcher first, and educational professionals, is to tell the true story. So tell that railway has nothing to invite to other sectors. There are difficult problems. There are fascinating application and technologies. There is also another thing that I think could be well said when we think about, when we try to promote rail. Rail is, we all know, sustainable much more than any other transport mode. Nowadays, there is a focus on this topic, and people that is attracted, maybe not directly from rail, but attracted by the idea of making the world cleaner, or in any case more sustainable, has to know that rail is, I'd say, the solution. Certainly it's part of the solution, a big part of the solution. I'd like to say the solution. So I think these are the things that can be that can be told to promote the sector.
We couldn't agree more. And telling a strong story, presenting the sector as a modern and diverse place to work, for sure. Are the salaries competitive? Do we offer competitive packages to applicants, Sabine?
At least I hope so. I cannot speak for each and every role, also not in the operator business, as this is not my turf. But what you see is that with the volatility in the market that I explained in the beginning, you have always to review your level of compensation. Because if you just consider the increase of compensation in digital jobs, then this is tremendous. And if you are not reviewing that continuously, then you are losing track. And then, of course, you will not get too many applicants, or you will face a lot of exits and after a short time, because people get better offer. So compensation is definitely a topic, and especially when we think about shift work and maybe more the service professions, then this is definitely something we have to look into.
And yeah, you were particularly addressing the volatility, for example, in the US market, where due to the COVID pandemic, people are more prone to look for something else, maybe more meaningful. Is there something in general that can be said about, you know, the effects of COVID on the modern workplace? Is this something that the railway sector is prepared for and can also offer?
Yeah, well, I think there is a cultural thing happening for the time being. So with COVID, traveling across countries and moving to other countries to work there is maybe not any longer seen as something fancy. So we have to adapt our work culture and environment also to be ready to have employees being located in different countries and then working together. So we have done that quite a lot during the lockdown phase, and we could prove it works. So the productivity was not going less, at least not in our industry. But this is more a cultural piece where we have to change the mindset, that we open up also for candidates from other countries and bring them into our own company culture and work with them, even though they are not any longer located in the specific country.
And so I'm back to things that are posted in the chat. Here's somebody who says, my company has the gender split of 50-50 in a high technology environment. My experience is that at the universities, there could be done a lot at university level to encourage, I guess, more women to take up more technical jobs. And is this also something that you see, that there's a trend of young women being more prone to technical profiles? Sabine?
Yes, it is.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Nicola, please go ahead.
Yes, there is. Definitely there is. And I think it is the result of the more general promotion of the STEM subjects. This is a problem which is widespread not only in the red sector, but the share of women in technical and in sciences and technical subjects is increasing thanks to the general promotion we are doing in for catching women, and reduce the old idea that tech is for male, which is simply not true.
Yes, and I read here in the chat. Well, let us first, because I find this a very interesting comment. Hello, I'm a train driver since I was 19 years old. Meanwhile, I have been able to achieve 2 university degrees at 2 of the most prestigious Italian universities. I'm still happy and satisfied in my job, but I also sad to see that it is becoming ever more difficult to develop a career inside the railway sector because it is preferred to take foreign people fresh from university. So can any of the speakers tell me, is this something you're aware of, that you know, are you developing people who start the career with your company and then give them enough opportunity to attain higher career options?
Shall I answer to this?
Please do. Thank you, Sabine.
So I think this is some experience we are all going through currently. So with the digital transformation, we all experience that many of our former tasks are now being done automated or digitalized, and with this also the jobs are changing tremendously. And I think it is the obligation of companies to accompany all this transformation with upskilling and reskilling opportunities for employees. And yes, we are facing breaks into the career path because this typical ladder that we had over years is not any longer working, and we have to give people different orientation, what could be a next one. That is a challenge, that is not easy, because it's also meaning that our management needs to do a good prediction into the future. What is the future state of the art then that we want to go for? And this is then maybe a good anchor to build new career perspectives on this. But I think it is not only in rail, it is not only the train driver, it is going through the entire industry. So therefore, this is an obligation that the companies have to accompany this transformation in a good way. Because we will not get new people in the market, so we have to work with the people that we have.
Mm-hmm. Right, and then to finalize discussion, there's so much to talk about, but unfortunately we have to limit it. I want to pick up one topic that came also through the question in the chat, and that is that of automation. What role, Nicola and Sabine, does automation play in the future strategy? I guess it's a mixture of, you know, trying to attract highly trained talent and replacing certain functions that are automatable. Nicola, you want to start?
Okay, I can leave the floor to Sabine if she likes. Okay, I'll go. From the point of view, I think that what you said is true. Automation is sometimes perceived as something that can reduce the workplace capabilities, and the message sometimes conveyed is exactly that. Nevertheless, automation is again an opportunity, because it can be something that allow men and women to reduce the share of heavy work and focus on those that involves more brain in general, more fantasy, more satisfaction also. So yes, I think automation is something that has to be conveyed carefully, because on one side, promoting it can lead to a misunderstanding of its capability and what it can means for the sector and in general for the workforce.
Yeah, Sabine, can you echo that?
Absolutely. So we have also new jobs coming up in companies, and then it's getting difficult to find the right people and to have people. And I think this is a bit special into our industry. So we appreciate people with a strong domain know-how. But domain know-how in rail is not something that comes easy. It's really taking time to build that up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it is the artful way how to develop people, to bring those people that have this strong fundamentation on domain know-how also in an environment where they can add digital and automation know-how as well. And with this both together, we have a much stronger argument also for the future.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea here is really that the transformation that is going on is meaning that we all need to learn new things.
Yes, for sure. We were talking about the train driver, and that position in particular might look very different, but it probably is still there, right? With this, we have to unfortunately end our very interesting discussion. I want to give the floor to our Executive Director, Joseph. Joseph, what did you take away from the discussion we had today?
Well, many thanks, Max, and good afternoon to everyone. I would like to conclude first by thanking all presenters, Sabine, Nicola, and also Christian, and of course all the participants who have submitted their questions for the very valuable discussion we have witnessed today. What I have learned is that we have many challenges. We heard about the increasing importance of rail in view of the climate change, but we also heard that there is the demand for new job profiles, and we heard about the digital and the IT job profiles, also about missing competencies, then demographics with an upcoming retirement wave. We heard that in some countries there is very high exit rates, and of course the necessity to improve gender balance in rail. What can we do? The agency, of course, would like to make its contribution to the transformation by bringing the relevant parties to the table and by creating the network necessary to support any future action. We have to tell a good story, and this is why our communications team has started today a campaign on Twitter to draw the attention to all different activities that are ongoing in the sector under the hashtag Talent for Rail. And we invite all of you to join this campaign by using this hashtag whenever you tackle the issue of talent shortage in rail. In 2021, we had the European Year of Rail, and now in 2022, we are in the European Year of Use. It was our idea to have a kind of transition from the European Year of Rail to the European Year of Use, and this is essentially also at the heart of our initiative. So please let us all work together to keep the future of the railway sector bright and prosperous. We have to have the passion for rail. We heard today a lot about model railways and people who have a very early love for rail. So it is important to keep this passion, this emotional affection in this activity. Just a final remark from our side. This year we will have, again, after the break from COVID, InnoTrans in September in Berlin. ERA will make talent for rail one of the key topics for our presence this year at InnoTrans in Berlin. Again, thank you all for joining this webinar, and I hand back to Max for the final conclusion.
Thank you very much, Joseph, and I just join you in thanking very warmly, especially our speakers today. Thank you so much for your time. Also, our audience for submitting such great questions. It was really enjoyable. Just a quick note before you go, we will be very happy to receive some feedback on this webinar. You see here a QR code that we will also publish later on the website that you can use to tell us what you think. And also, I want to announce our next webinar. It's on the 17th of May from 12 to 1 o'clock and has the intriguing title, To Main or Not to Maintain. So we're going Shakespeare now here at the agency. Thank you very much for participating, and I wish you a very pleasant afternoon. Take care.